In marriage, what causes many people pain is not the present, but the past that hasn't been released. Hurtful words, past mistakes, painful memories. They are brought up again and again. When the past keeps being dragged into today, love has no room to breathe. Marriage is already fragile, but it becomes even more suffocating when both hearts are bound tightly by what has already passed. You can see it, many relationships don't break because of a lack of love, but because both partners cannot put the past down. The tighter they hold, the deeper the wounds. The more they reopen old hurts, the more trust is lost. And so marriage becomes a journey of repeating old scars instead of opening new possibilities. The truth is, no one can turn back time. What has happened, whether right or wrong, cannot be changed. But we can choose, keep living in painful memories, or learn to let go so marriage can be reborn. Letting go does not mean forgetting everything, nor does it mean denying what happened. Letting go is the decision not to let the past control the present. It is the only doorway to trust, to listening, and to love being renewed. If you want to save your marriage first, you must learn to release what is already past. Welcome to Buddhism Seeds. If you find these reflections meaningful, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share with friends so together we can spread peace in life. And now let us move into the main content, how to let go of the past, and from there, save your marriage. Part 1. Letting go of the past. So marriage can breathe. In marriage, there is a truth many people must face. Past memories, if not released, become a tightening rope that keeps love from breathing. Many couples live in a storage room of memories filled with blame, resentment, and old wounds. Whenever conflict arises, instead of addressing today's issue, they open that storage room and pull out every past mistake, every old word, every wound to pile on top. What could have been a simple conversation turns into a storm. Think about it. If your room is filled with old broken things that are never cleared out, can fresh light, new fragrance, and openness enter marriage is the same. When the mind is crowded with fragments of the past, love has no space to grow. It suffocates it, withers, it loses its vitality. The more old mistakes are brought up, the more love suffocates. It is like placing a stone on the chest of someone trying to breathe. The first time, the heart can still endure, but each time the past is raised, another stone is added. One reminder, one stone. 2 reminders, 2 stones. Then 3, 4, until the heart no longer has strength to beat normally. Love, meant to be a source of happiness, turns into a heavy burden that exhausts both. I have listened to many couples speak through tears. They say we still love each other, but somehow, the longer we live together, the more distant we feel. Every time we try to talk, the old stories come back. Old words, old mistakes, old wounds we thought were gone. They're all reopened, and in the end, only blame remains. Hearing this, I know they haven't stopped loving. They simply cannot let go. In their eyes, there is still affection, in their voices, still a bond. But love is hidden behind too many stones of the past. They clutch those stones tightly, fearing that if they let go, they will lose something. Fearing that if they release the other, will forget their mistakes. Yet in holding on too tightly, they hurt themselves, turning love into a heavy journey. Imagine a person walking with a backpack full of rocks. Every reminder of the past adds another stone. The farther they go, the heavier it becomes. Eventually, their steps cannot continue. Marriage is the same. When the backpack of memories is stuffed with blame, love slowly loses its strength to breathe. I look at them and wish that one day they will be brave enough to set down those old stones. Because love does not die from lack of feeling, but from being crushed under memories that are never released. Only by setting them down can love have space to breathe, to return as a true source of happiness in married life. You may be wondering, how can I forget the past hurt me those words, those wounds? How can I pretend they never happened? I want to tell you, this letting go does not mean erasing memory. Humans are not machines that can press a button and forget everything. The memories remain. But what matters is that you have the choice. Will you let them keep controlling the present? Will you let them reopen the wounds? Picture yourself holding a glass cup. One day it falls and breaks. You can gather the pieces, you can glue them, but it will never be as whole as before. If you keep clutching that cracked cup, staring at it daily, blaming it for breaking you, only deepen your suffering. What you need is not to hold on to a broken cup, but to set it down. Marriage is the same. The past may have cracked, may have left scars, but if you keep clinging to blame, you will never see anything new. Only when you are brave enough to set the past down will you have the chance to rebuild trust and open a new page where love can be reborn. Many people don't realize they are living in a heavy warehouse of memories. Every time a couple argues, they don't solve the issue of the present. Instead, like warehouse keepers, they open the door and pull out all the old dusty packages to pile them up again. You once said this, you once did that. Those packages are old, no longer valuable. Yet every time they are brought out, they become fuel that ignites more arguments. That warehouse of memories becomes nothing less than an arsenal of explosives. Just one spark and everything erupts violently. Think about it. You want love to bloom, but you plant it in soil full of trash, broken glass, and rubble. How can flowers grow? You want to build new trust, but every day you throw handfuls of salt onto an old wound. How can it ever heal? When the past is constantly stirred up, it is like cutting over and over into the same scar, keeping it from ever closing. Only when you clear out that warehouse of memories, set down the old packages, and truly open your heart to the present, can love have a chance to breathe. But if you keep holding on, marriage will only be filled with the staleness of mold instead of the fragrance of trust and freshness. I will never tell you that letting go is easy. On the contrary, it is one of the greatest challenges in marriage. The human mind has the habit of clinging. The inner ego keeps whispering, I am right, the other is wrong. I am the one suffering, and the other must take responsibility. These thoughts make you cling to the past as if it were evidence to protect yourself. But the tighter you hold, the more bound you become. You think holding on keeps you safe, but in truth, it only robs you of freedom. And when your heart is already packed tight with resentment, love has no place to live. There is one thing I can affirm: only by letting go can love breathe. Imagine a room that has been closed for too long, musty air, no light coming in. But once you open a window, fresh air rushes in, sunlight floods the room, and suddenly it becomes bright, fresh, and pleasant. Your heart is the same. When you learn to open it, to set the past down, love will have space to revive. It will be like a flame receiving oxygen, glowing bright again, warm and full of life. Do you still remember that first look when you met your spouse? That look was once pure innocent and made your heart race as if you had discovered a new world. Those beautiful memories never disappeared. They are still there, tucked away deep in your soul. But over the years, you've covered them with too many layers of blame, resentment, and hurt. It is like a mirror that was once clear and bright. If dust settles on it every day, eventually, you can no longer see your reflection clearly. To see again, you don't need a new mirror. You just need to wipe away the dust. Marriage is the same. To find back that original feeling, you don't need another person. You only need to put down the old burdens, release what has darkened your heart. Then the light of love you once knew will return pure as it was at the beginning. What if every day you looked at your partner with new eyes, without dragging out old stories? What would your marriage be like? What if in every argument you chose to stop instead of stirring up past mistakes? How would your love change? If you truly set down the old, wouldn't your heart feel lighter? My dear friend, love needs space to shine. The flame of love only burns when it has oxygen, and that oxygen is letting go. If you keep holding tight, that flame will die out. But if you release, you give love a new chance to blaze bright again. 2. Forgiveness in marriage. A gift to yourself. When it comes to marriage, one of the greatest challenges you and your partner must face is forgiveness. I know forgiveness is not easy, but without it, love cannot last. And more importantly, forgiveness is not only for the other person, it is also for yourself. Take a moment and think about it. Every time you hold on to anger in your heart, you are actually locking yourself inside an invisible cage. Each sad memory, each hurtful word, each mistake brought up again and again together. They become the iron bars around you. At first, the cage is still wide. You can breathe, you can move. But as more resentment piles up, the cage shrinks tighter. Eventually, your heart feels suffocated with no space left to beat freely. Forgiveness is the key to unlock that door. The moment you choose to let go, you feel your chest lighten, your breath deepen, and your heart freed, like stepping out into open air. Have you noticed? The other person, the one who hurt you, might still sleep soundly, still laugh and talk as if nothing happened. But you, the one holding anger, lie awake, restless, exhausted. So who is that anger really hurting more? When you forgive, you are not granting someone a favor. You are removing the chains around your own heart. Only then can you truly be free and live peacefully within your marriage. None of us are perfect. You have made mistakes, and so has your spouse. Mistakes are a natural part of life. The issue is not how many times someone failed, but whether there is still a chance to rise and grow afterward. If you keep holding tightly to mistakes, repeating them in every argument, your partner remains trapped in the past. When they are constantly reminded they never change, they gradually lose the motivation to actually change. Forgiveness does not mean you agree with the mistake or pretend it never happened. Forgiveness means opening a door, allowing the other person to step through and begin again. Like a garden, if you only focus on the weeds, it seems there is no beauty left. But if you clear a patch of soil, pull out the weeds, that very spot can become the place to plant new seeds. Marriage is that garden. If you only hold on to painful memories, you miss the chance to see positive growth. Forgiveness is how you clear the soil of the heart, so love and trust can take root again, replacing what once caused pain. In marriage, trust can crack, but a crack does not mean the end. When you forgive, you lay the first brick to rebuild the broken bridge. Each word of forgiveness is another touch, another link, helping the bridge slowly recover. If you refuse to forgive, you keep the distance, and that distance only grows wider. But if you choose to set it down, you will see a new path open. Forgiveness is the starting point for renewing trust. Have you ever noticed how your body reacts when anger rises? Your face tightens, your breath quickens, your heart beats faster, and your mind tangles like a ball of string. Anger is like fire. The more you hold it, the more it burns you inside. But when you choose forgiveness, you feel as if an invisible weight has been lifted. Your whole body feels lighter, your mind clearer, and your heart more at ease. Forgiveness is not to make the other person comfortable. It is first to bring peace back to your own soul. You may have thought forgiveness is weakness, that it is giving in, that it allows others to take advantage. But the truth is the opposite. Forgiveness is a sign of strength. Holding on to anger is easy. Putting it down is hard. Anyone can be angry, but only the brave have the inner strength to stop, release, and open their hearts. That courage is forgiveness. When you forgive, you do not lower yourself, nor do you abandon your self-worth. On the contrary, you raise yourself higher because you choose freedom instead of being imprisoned by resentment. Forgiveness is the gift you give your own heart, the gift of peace, freedom, and release. Imagine this: every time you get angry, you pick up a stone and put it in your bag. At first, just a few stones, no problem. But over time, the bag grows heavier and every step becomes harder. In the end, you are the one who collapses under the weight. Forgiveness means taking those stones out one by one and setting them down. As the bag becomes lighter, you finally realize you can walk much farther. If you keep holding on to your partner's mistakes, can you truly be happy? If you carry resentment every day, will your heart still have space for love? And if you are brave enough to forgive, will you not feel more at peace? My dear friend, forgiveness is not a gift you give to someone else. It is a gift you give yourself. Forgive so your heart can be free, so your marriage can have a new chance, and so love can breathe again. You may think forgiveness means forgetting everything, pretending nothing happened, but that is not so. Memories, whether joyful or painful, remain in you. Forgiveness is not pressing a delete button in your mind. It is the decision not to let the past keep controlling you today. If your spouse once hurt you, that pain may leave a deep mark. But if you relive it every day, you are allowing the past to rule your present. Forgiveness means accepting that the past happened, but choosing to move forward without dragging the chains of resentment. Picture a room in your home. If dust piles up each day over time, the room becomes suffocating and dark. But if you open the windows, sweep, and clean fresh air, and sunlight will come pouring in. Forgiveness works the same way. You cannot erase the past, but you can clean it, giving your heart freshness and space to breathe. When you forgive, you are wiping the dust off your heart. And only when the dust is gone can love shine again, like sunlight streaming through an open window. Some people think forgiveness is weakness, surrender, or letting the other person win. But the truth is the opposite. Forgiveness requires great inner strength. Anger only needs an instant to explode, but forgiveness requires a whole process of openness, courage, and growth. Ask yourself, what is harder, clutching a stone or letting it go? Holding on is simple, but it hurts your hand. Letting go requires a decision, an act of courage, and only then do you feel truly light. That is forgiveness. In marriage, there are wounds that seem as if they will never heal. A careless word, a thoughtless action, can leave behind a lingering pain in the heart. But remember this, a wound can only heal when you stop scratching it. If you keep picking at it every day, it will continue to bleed. Forgiveness is the decision to stop hurting yourself further, to give the wound a chance to close and slowly heal. You cannot turn back time, but you can choose your next step. Forgiveness is the path where the past comes to a halt and the future begins to open. Imagine driving on a long road. If you keep staring into the rearview mirror, you won't see the road ahead clearly. You may crash into obstacles. You may lose your way because you're haunted by what is behind you. Forgiveness is like choosing to look forward. The rearview mirror is still there, the memories remain, but they no longer take up your whole view. Only when you face forward can you keep moving. In marriage, forgiveness means keeping your eyes on the road ahead. It is not denying what happened, but deciding not to let it block the path for both of you. When someone is forgiven, they are given the chance to learn how to become a better version of themselves. And when you forgive, you also learn humility, compassion, and patience. Forgiveness not only helps a marriage survive, it helps both partners grow. Without stumbles, how could we ever learn the lesson of getting back up? Without mistakes, how could we understand the value of change? Forgiveness is the bridge that turns mistakes into lessons instead of a life sentence. There are pains you cannot forgive in a single day. It takes time. Forgiveness can be a long journey step by step. Each day, you choose to set down a little more, open your heart a little more. And one day, you realize you feel lighter, no longer bound by the past. Don't think that if you haven't completely forgiven today, you have failed. As long as you intend to walk this path, you have already begun the journey of freeing yourself. My dear friend, let me ask you this. If you keep clinging to your partner's mistakes, can you truly be happy? If you refuse to forgive, does your marriage have any way out? And if you are brave enough to forgive, won't your heart feel more at peace? No marriage can last without forgiveness. Because two people, two personalities, two worlds living under one roof, conflict is inevitable. Without forgiveness, small scratches accumulate into large cracks, and in the end, break the relationship apart. Forgiveness is the invisible glue that binds two hearts after their collisions. Without it, marriage is a fragile vase easily broken. With it, marriage becomes a vase that may have once cracked, but has been repaired and is now stronger than before. 3. Living in the present, not repeating the same old script. Marriage is meant to be a long journey, yet many people unknowingly turn that journey into a circle that repeats itself again and again. Why? Because they do not live in the present, but keep reliving painful memories. They let the past write a script, and every time an argument happens, that same script is replayed, word for word, wound for wound. Have you ever noticed this? A conversation that begins today, but within minutes, you and your spouse are revisiting an old story from years ago. The present disappears, replaced only by a replay of the past. And then the marriage becomes stuck, unable to move forward. Picture this: you want to drive forward, but your eyes are fixed on the rearview mirror. How far can you go? The road ahead is filled with opportunities with beautiful scenery, but you cannot see it because you're only staring at what's behind. Marriage is the same. When your mind is trapped in painful memories, you cannot see the freshness of love that exists today. One of the things that slowly exhausts a marriage is the habit of digging up old mistakes. Imagine if every day you opened a torn, stained notebook and stared only at the damaged pages. You would never have the chance to write new, brighter ones. The past is just the pages already turned. You can remember them, but you cannot change them. Yet many people keep their eyes fixed on the old ink stains, then wonder why the book of their marriage never moves forward. Ask yourself, what can I do today to make my marriage lighter? Maybe it's a gentle word instead of a criticism. Maybe it's a look of understanding instead of coldness. And sometimes, silence at the right moment can be worth more than 1,000 excuses. When you focus on present actions, you hold the pen to write a new chapter of your love story instead of repeating an old tragic script. The book of marriage still has many blank pages. Will you keep flipping back to the torn ones? Or will you start writing new lines, softer, warmer, filled with hope? Remember, every morning you wake up is a new opportunity. Marriage is not defined by what is past, but by how you act today. If you choose to stir up the past, today becomes tainted. But if you choose to plant something positive, love will have the chance to grow. You may think, can old wounds ever disappear? I want to tell you this: they don't have to disappear. You only need to stop letting them control your life. A garden may once have weeds, you cannot make them vanish overnight. But you can plant more flowers so they outgrow the weeds. Each day, if you plant a seed of love, the garden of your marriage will slowly become more beautiful. My dear friend, how long has it been since you truly paused to notice the good in your spouse? In anger, we are swept away by emotion. We exaggerate flaws, magnify mistakes as if that is all they are. In that distorted view, we forget they were once tender, once loving, once sacrificial, and even now may still be quietly trying. If you change your perspective, you may see today they may have stayed silent to avoid an unnecessary argument. Today, they may have remembered to bring home something you like. Today, they may have simply smiled at you after a long, tiring day. These are small things, but they deserve recognition. And if you take the time to notice, you will realize love has not disappeared. You just have not recognized its presence. Ask yourself, do I want to nurture my marriage with light or with darkness? If you choose light, you will find many reasons to keep loving and keep building. Light is where beauty grows. But if you only focus on darkness, on flaws, your marriage will always feel bleak. No flower can bloom in a room without light. Forgiveness and appreciation for what is good in the present are how you make room for love to breathe and revive. When you choose to see the good, your heart becomes lighter, your soul more open, and your marriage has greater chances to move forward instead of being blocked by the shadows of anger. Think of your smartphone. If you keep storing old, unnecessary apps, the memory fills, the system slows, and you can no longer enjoy its new features. You need to clear some space, delete outdated apps for the phone to run smoothly. Marriage is the same. If you keep storing painful memories, you slow the rhythm of love. Only when you release them does marriage have space for something new. If you keep living in old memories, can you still enjoy today's happiness? If you keep picking apart old mistakes, can you see your partner's efforts to change? If you treat each day as a new chance, could your marriage be renewed? Marriage cannot move forward if you keep repeating the same old script. The past is the past. You cannot erase it, but you can choose not to replay it. The future has not yet come, but you can plant seeds today. Focus on the present, because only in the present does love have the real chance to breathe, to live, and to grow. Picture yourself walking on a road. Ahead lies light opportunities, beauty waiting to be discovered. But instead of moving forward, you build a wall of bricks from the past. Each criticism, a brick; each painful memory, a layer of mortar. Over time, the wall grows tall, blocking your view, stopping your steps. Marriage is the same. When you focus only on what is past, you build a wall separating love from the present. To keep going, you must take the bricks down. That begins with a decision: I choose to look at the present. You cannot fix the past. No matter how many times you replay it, it will not change. But today, you can act differently. You can speak kindness instead of blame. You can listen instead of argue. You can smile instead of frown. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to make my marriage lighter? Maybe it's holding your partner's hand when stepping outside. Maybe it's a hug before bedtime. Maybe it's a short message: I know today was hard for you. These small gestures are present actions, and they carry more power to change a marriage than any criticism of yesterday. Do you see that every morning is a chance to renew your marriage? Yesterday may have been full of arguments, but today you can still begin again. Marriage is not defined by the past. It is shaped by your daily choices. Picture marriage as a long book. Each day is a new page. If you keep copying old lines, the story will never change. But if you decide to write something new, even a single sentence, the book begins to change. Each day is your chance to write a brighter, fresher page of love. Do you remember the last time you looked into your spouse's eyes and saw the light in them? When we are angry, we only see darkness. But the light is still there, hidden behind the clouds of resentment. If you look closely, you will see they still have qualities worth cherishing. Maybe a small effort, maybe a quiet act, maybe patience you never noticed. If you focus only on the wrong, you will miss the right. If you only remember the bad, you will forget the good. Try changing the lens. Look through eyes of appreciation. You may find your marriage holds more brightness than you thought. Picture this: every time you bring up the past, you drop another stone into the backpack you both carry. At first, the pack is light, you can manage, but day by day, it gets heavier, bending your back, wearing you out. In the end, you collapse under the weight. But if you are willing to remove the stones one by one, the pack becomes lighter, and your steps grow stronger. Marriage does not need to carry every painful memory. You only need to keep what is necessary and set down what no longer helps. With a lighter pack, you and your spouse can travel farther together on a long journey. Think of a window in winter. When condensation fogs it up, you cannot see clearly outside. But once you wipe it clean, the view becomes clear and bright again. Painful memories are the fog on the window of marriage. If you only look through the blur, everything seems dark. But when you let go, when you clear it away, you see the beauty of the present. If today you live only in the past, where will your marriage head? If every day you bring up old mistakes, can you still see your partner's effort to change? If you truly set it down and focus on the present, could you rediscover the joy of love? My dear friend, marriage cannot move forward if you keep repeating the old script. The past is past. You cannot change it, but you can choose not to let it control today. The future has not yet arrived, but you can plant seeds now. Focus on the present, because only in the present does love have the chance to truly breathe, truly live, and truly grow. 4. The art of listening and letting go of control. One of the greatest illusions in marriage is the belief that I am always right. When conflict arises, both partners often try to defend their own views, as if marital happiness depends on who is right and who is wrong. But think about it, if marriage is only about who is right or wrong, is there still room for love? None of us are perfect. You may be right today, but tomorrow you could be wrong. Your spouse is the same. If both of you only insist on defending your own correctness, what remains is only collision, not companionship. Picture marriage as a car ride. If both insist on grabbing the wheel, the car will swerve and go nowhere. Only when you know how to yield, how to listen, can the car go far. Have you noticed, in many conversations with your spouse, you think you are listening, but you are not? Your ears hear, but in your heart, you are already preparing your reply. You wait for them to finish, only so you can counter, bringing up arguments to protect your view. That is not listening, that is waiting for your turn to speak. And when both do that, the conversation turns into a debate. No one feels understood, only exhaustion and distance remain. What does it mean to listen to understand? It means putting your ego aside to truly receive what the other is saying. You don't need to agree right away, and you don't need to rush to fix the problem. You just need to be present to listen and to let them feel that you truly care about their emotions. Sometimes, your spouse doesn't need you to fix things immediately. They only need to know they are not alone. Think back to the last time you felt someone truly listen to you. Didn't you feel lighter valued and closer to them? Your spouse also needs that. They need a safe place where they can be heard and understood. If you can create that space, love is like a flame being given oxygen. It glows brighter, warmer, and more enduring. Marriage doesn't always need grand gestures. Sometimes it just needs ears that listen and a heart that understands. One major cause of marital tension is the desire to change your spouse to fit your will. You think if he changes, if she changes, marriage will be better. But the truth is, the more you try to change someone, the more they feel controlled, the more they resist. Have you ever thought that you too have needed to change? And if someone kept imposing on you, how would you feel? The more you are forced, the more you want to resist. Marriage cannot be a place where one person holds the strings to control the other. It must be a place where both are free, respected, and able to be themselves. Letting go of the desire to change your spouse does not mean giving up or neglecting. It means choosing to accept who they truly are, and instead of trying to control, learning to encourage and support. Real change only comes when someone chooses it themselves, never from imposition. Listening is not only a skill, it is an art. And to bring that art to life, you need compassion. When you listen with compassion, you don't listen to find fault, but to understand. You don't listen to win, but to soothe. Your spouse doesn't just need you to listen with your ears. They need you to listen with your heart. Listening with compassion means not listening to prepare a rebuttal, not listening to judge, but listening to truly understand. Picture your spouse's heart as a cup filled to the brim. Each day, they may carry stress and pressure. If you add more judgment, the cup will overflow in anger. But if you listen with compassion, you help them pour out the heaviness so the cup can feel lighter again. When you listen with compassion, marriage becomes lighter. At that moment, you and your spouse are no longer two people standing on opposite sides, but two hearts sitting together, sharing walking side by side. One moment of compassionate listening can change an entire day. It can ease tension, clear misunderstandings, and rekindle connection. Marriage feels lighter because both hearts are able to breathe. Imagine a room with two radios. If both are turned up to the maximum, the sounds clash and nothing is heard clearly. But if one lowers its volume to give space to the other, the music becomes clear. Marriage is the same. If both insist on speaking, insisting on being heard, it is only noise. But if one listens, the space becomes calm and clear. If you always believe you are right, is there still room for understanding? If you listen only to rebut, are you truly hearing the other person? If you always try to change your spouse, will they still feel loved? And if you learn to listen with compassion, won't your marriage become lighter? Marriage is not a contest to prove who is right. It is a journey of growing together. For marriage to breathe, you need to learn the art of listening and letting go of control. You are not always right. Listen to understand, not to argue. Let go of the desire to control your spouse and listen with a compassionate heart. When you do this, your marriage becomes lighter, more loving, and more enduring. I once heard a husband share, "I always thought I was the knowledgeable one, so every time my wife gave feedback, I immediately countered. But the more I did that, the more she withdrew and stopped sharing." Do you see? It wasn't that he didn't love his wife. It was because he held the belief that he was always right. And that belief slowly pushed her away. In marriage, always right is not victory. Sometimes admitting you can be wrong is the way both of you can come closer. Someone who insists on always being right is like a person standing at a crossroads, refusing to look at the map because they believe they already know the way. But then they keep circling, exhausted, never reaching their destination. Marriage does not need a winner and a loser. Marriage needs two people winning together, winning over ego, winning over stubbornness to make room for love. Think back to your last argument with your spouse. When they spoke, were you really listening, or was your mind already preparing a reply? If you were just waiting for your turn to prove yourself right, then you were not listening. Listening to understand is a difficult art because it requires you to put your ego aside to place yourself in their position. You don't need to agree, but you do need to give them space to express themselves. By doing this, you give them a priceless gift, the feeling of being understood. In modern life, pressures from work finances and raising children can wear people down. After a long day, your spouse doesn't come home to hear more judgment. They come home seeking a refuge, a place where they are heard. If you can provide that your home becomes a sanctuary, not a battlefield. Many people enter marriage with an unspoken expectation. He will change for me. She will change for me. But the more you demand that others change to fit your will, the more disappointment you will face. You can advise, you can encourage, but if inside you is the need to control, your spouse will feel suffocated. They will resist or retreat. And then the distance only grows. Put yourself in that position. If every day someone tells you, you must do this, you must be that, would you feel comfortable or would you want to escape? Marriage is not a place for control. It is a place for two people to grow together. Change only lasts when it comes from within, never from outside pressure. Letting go of control does not mean giving up. It means choosing to love with acceptance. There was once a student who came to learn from a Zen master. He spoke endlessly about what he already knew. The master smiled, poured tea into his cup until it overflowed. Alarmed, the student said, "Master, the cup is full. You cannot pour more." The master gently replied, "Yes, when your mind is already full, nothing more can be received. To take in new things, you must first empty your cup." Marriage is the same. If you are full of ego and judgment, you will hear nothing from your partner. Only when you empty your heart with compassion and humility can you truly listen and understand. Think of a piece of music. If all instruments play at full volume, all you hear is noise. But when some soften and give space, harmony is created. Marriage is like music. If both insist on being loud, life becomes chaotic. But when one learns to listen and let go of control, the melody becomes gentle and love becomes a beautiful song. My dear friend, marriage is not an endless debate nor a stage to prove you are right. It is a journey for two people to grow together. To go far, you must learn the art of listening. Listen not to repeat, but to understand. To keep marriage light, you must let go of control. Because love does not bloom in control. It only blooms in freedom and acceptance. When you listen with compassion, you open a new space, a space where both can breathe, speak, and be themselves. And that very space will nurture your love to grow stronger, more enduring, and more beautiful each day. 5. The Cracked Pot. Finding beauty in imperfection. Long ago in a small village, there lived a kind, simple water carrier. His daily work was always the same. At dawn, he went to the well, filled 2 large jars with water, then carried them home. The path from the well to his house was long and winding, lined with bushes and patches of dry soil. The villagers were used to the sight of the man with a heavy yoke on his shoulders, walking slowly yet steadily, as if his whole life were bound to that carrying pole. He had 2 jars. One was round, sturdy without a single chip. Each time he filled it, it kept every drop. No matter the distance or the rough ground, he could trust that the water would reach home in full. It was the jar he took pride in, the perfect companion. But the other jar was different. It had a long crack running down its side. Each time he filled it and took his first steps away from the well, water began to leak with every stride. At first, just a few drops, but halfway home, the water was noticeably lower. By the time he reached his house, only half remained. Seeing this made the water carrier sad. He sighed and thought, "I worked so hard carrying 2 jars from the well, yet only one stays full. The other keeps spilling along the way. My effort is not repaid, it's all just waste." Day by day, that feeling grew heavier. He began to feel regret and discouragement. In his heart, he compared them. How perfect that other jar is. And this one, what a failure. It makes me waste so much water and effort. Day after day, he kept working, but each step with the cracked jar felt burdened. Carrying water no longer brought him the old joy, only weariness and helplessness. Until one day, walking the familiar path, his gaze paused. He noticed something different. Along one side of the trail he always traveled, the weeds were no longer withered. Instead, wildflowers were lifting their heads in bloom, the yellow of daisies, the purple of myrtle, the white of tiny blossoms, all blending into a bright ribbon of color. The once dull road had come alive like a painting of nature. He stopped, looked for a long time, and smiled. A thought flashed. Of course, those wasted drops watered the dry earth. They nourished this beauty. What he had once seen as waste turned out to carry a different value, one he had not recognized before. From that day, he no longer looked at the cracked jar with sadness. Each time he carried water, he looked at the flowers along the path and felt lighter. He understood that even an imperfect jar had its place and created something good. It did not hold water fully, but it made the road. He walked more beautiful, making each step less heavy and less monotonous. The jar was still cracked, the water still leaked, but he no longer grieved, because his heart had changed. He had learned that value does not always lie in perfection. Sometimes, imperfection itself reveals another kind of beauty. The story of the water carrier and the cracked jar spread through the village. People told it to one another as a lesson in how to look at life. Everyone has cracks and flaws. If you only stare at them and blame, you'll see only waste and unfairness. But if you look deeper, you'll realize even shortcomings can bear sweet flowers and fruit if we are patient and compassionate enough. And from then on, the water path carried not only the man's footsteps, but also laughter, for he knew that each drop falling to the ground was not lost in vain. It was helping to make life more beautiful. My dear friend, that story is not only about a cracked jar, it also reflects our own lives. Because in this world, no one is perfect. You have your limits and shortcomings. So does your spouse. Sometimes it's a quick temper, a clumsy habit, or a careless word that hurts. When seen through a narrow lens, those cracks only bring disappointment and sadness. In marriage, many fall into the trap of comparison. They dream of a flawless spouse, always understanding, never erring, never causing pain. When reality doesn't match, they feel let down. But do you see that the very demand for perfection is the root of suffering? If you look only at the breaks, marriage seems like a broken jar, only waste and unfairness. You'll ask, why must I endure this? Why can't they be who I want them to be? Yet if you pause and look deeper, you'll see something else. A flaw is not just a flaw, it is also an opportunity. Like the cracked jar, watering flowers along the road, it is precisely human shortcomings that compel you to learn patience, to learn listening, to learn compassion. Without those collisions, how would you learn to widen your heart? Without those hurts, how would you mature in love? The Buddha once taught about emptiness, that in all phenomena there are two sides: suffering and happiness, imperfection and opportunity. When you cling to only one side, life seems unfair. But when you look deeply, you see that even within a crack lies the potential to bloom. Marriage is the same. The important thing is not to find someone without flaws, but to learn to see flowers blooming from imperfection. If you know how to appreciate the cracks, you'll realize marriage is not a burden to be endured, but a journey to learn the art of loving with an open heart. Only then does love truly have the chance to endure. In Buddhist teaching, the Buddha taught that all things are impermanent and imperfect. Nothing remains intact forever. No one is perfect forever. This body will age. This mind will sometimes err. And this heart will sometimes give rise to wrong notions. Understanding this, we stop demanding absolute perfection from others. You may ask, if they're wrong, should I forgive? I want to say that forgiveness does not deny the mistake, it accepts human imperfection. When you clearly see impermanence, you understand today they err tomorrow, they may be better. In that way, love is not trapped in disappointment, but nourished by acceptance and hope. Consider this: if the water carrier had seen the cracked jar only as broken, he would have thrown it away and never witnessed the flowers along the path. But by changing his view, he discovered the beauty hidden within the flaw. Marriage is the same. When you change your view, you see your spouse may be hot-tempered, but that very trait teaches you self-restraint. They may be forgetful, but that teaches you patience. Each crack seen rightly can become an opportunity for love to bloom. If you look only at the cracks, might you miss the flowers in bloom? If you focus only on flaws, can you still see the other's effort and love? And if you learn to value what is imperfect, can your marriage become gentler and more enduring? In today's life, financial pressures, work children, and lifestyle differences can make it easy to see the cracks in your spouse. They don't meet your expectations. They're not perfect, like in the movies. But remember, love is not about finding a perfect person. It is about learning to see beauty in imperfection. The Buddha once taught lotuses grow only in the mud. From flaws, compassion can blossom. From brokenness, fresh flowers can rise. When you accept that you no longer see marriage as a burden, but as a journey of growing together. The cracked jar leaves us a great lesson. Your spouse has cracks in personality and habits, and sometimes makes mistakes that hurt you. If you look only at those, you will feel disappointed and wounded. But if you look more deeply, you will see those very shortcomings can nourish love. Because thanks to the cracks, you learn patience. Thanks to mistakes, you learn forgiveness. And thanks to imperfection, you learn what it means to truly love with an open heart. In Buddhist teaching, the lotus can only rise from the mud. Love is the same. It does not grow from perfection, but from imperfections embraced with compassion. To forgive, to appreciate, and to find flowers in the cracks, this is not only the art of marriage, but the art of happiness. My dear friend, after all we have shared, you may have seen a simple yet profound truth. Marriage cannot survive by clinging to the past, nor can it grow from the pursuit of perfection. Marriage can breathe and bloom only when two people know how to let go, forgive, and see the present with compassionate eyes. We have spoken about letting go of the past, so love does not suffocate. About forgiveness, not only for the other, but first for yourself. About focusing on the present instead of replaying the old script. And about the art of listening and releasing control so hearts can truly touch. And finally, through the story of the cracked jar, we see that even imperfections and cracks in each of us can become the soil where love blooms if we know how to value and nurture them. The Buddha once taught lotuses grow only in the mud. This reminds us that happiness does not come from perfection, but from the way we face and transform imperfection. When you forgive, when you listen, when you know how to see flowers in the cracks, at that very moment, your marriage finds its path through suffering toward peace. So instead of blaming, learn to smile at flaws. Instead of clinging to resentment, open your heart to forgive. And instead of seeking perfection, learn to love within imperfection. It is precisely there that love becomes real and enduring. If what we shared today touches your heart, if you find it helpful for your marriage and your life, we invite you to journey with us at Buddhism Seeds. Please subscribe to the channel, like and share to spread the message of Buddhist compassion and wisdom to more people. And don't forget to leave a comment below. Share your story, experience, or thoughts. Who knows, your words may become encouragement, a light for someone who needs it. My dear friend, love and marriage are not a problem of right and wrong, nor a race to win. They are a long journey where two people learn to grow together. And that journey is truly happy only when you know how to let go, forgive, listen, and appreciate. Let your marriage become a road where flowers bloom, watered by the very drops that fall from the cracked jar of life. And let the love within you breathe live and grow each day.